If your dog is reactive like Rocco, you need to watch this video. I'm currently working with Rocco, the GSD, and he struggles with his reactivity. I'm going to show you how I take him for a walk and how I deal with his reactivity on those walks, how I prevent it, and how I improve it. Before you bring your dog out, always make sure there's no dogs coming. You don't want your dog to see a dog off the bat because they're already a little stimulated from the environment. Once the coast is clear, we're going to let him out. When dogs first go into new environments, they're really stimulated by it, so we need to make sure he's nice and comfortable in his environment before we can do anything. Let him have a bit of a sniff, let him wander around. Once we've got that, we then start from training. Remember that half the reactivity puzzle is actually building value in you, so do not skip the training part. It's really valuable for the dog and you. This is an absolute non-negotiable if you've got a reactive dog before you start your walk. Do not ever skip this step. Once Rocco is super settled and focused on me and his training, I start the walk. It didn't take me too long before I come across a dog. Once I spot a dog, I have to set up a scenario where Rocco is most likely to succeed. So the first thing I do is create some space where I can start to get him working. Once I've set up enough space, my first step is to wait until Rocco engages with the dog. I then want him to look away. Now, if you're too close, the dog will not look away. The second he looks away, I'm going to reward him. You can see just there. I can create some prompts to look away, such as taking a step back away from the dog. As you can see here, a lot of the time that does prompt the dog to disengage with the dog. In the next few engagements, he actually does really well. He's engaging and disengaging, but I can also notice that he's starting to get a little bit too challenged here. He starts to over-arouse a little. So what I do is actually create a little bit of a food find, which you'll see in a couple of seconds, where on his engagement, instead of rewarding him from the hand, I toss the treats to the ground just to keep his head down, to keep his arousal down just for 5 or 10 seconds. Once that's done, I'll then allow him to look again. Remember, working with reactivity, you're always going to have some management in your training programs. Now that the dog's out of the picture, we want to give him a little bit of a rest, so always allow him to have a bit of a sniff before you get back walking. Once we're back on the path, it didn't take us too long again to find another dog that you can see in the distance here. So again, we tried to set up really quickly. Once we found our spot, we're waiting for him to engage with the dog again. And you can see he does a pretty good job here. His first engagement, he was a little fixed, but he disengaged pretty well. I did prompt him with a little move back, but then after that, he was really, really good. He's looking at the dog, looking away, looking at the dog again, looking away. He did really, really well in this scenario. You can see he's a little bit stressed, but he's coping. Now, once the dog goes past, we give him a bit of a break and then we jump back on the path again. For this last one, I wanted to show you that you can do this without food. Just be aware that sometimes toys can create a little bit of arousal around other dogs, and I really don't want that sometimes when you're working with reactivity. Some dogs can benefit from being a lot calmer. However, Rocco is very toy driven, so I thought I'd show you. We see a dog up in the distance, we move and create some space. I then wait for Rocco to notice the dog. Now, as soon as he notices it, he disengages almost immediately, and then I bring out the tug ball. So basically, he's really enjoying that. You can see he had a little bit of a peek at the dog there. I also have 2 toys here. Now, this is really important with this one for a dog that really likes to hold their toy. You can use a 2-toy method. So what you do here is you tug, 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 and then I'll bring out the other one if he goes and looks at the dog. So you'll see he'll look at the dog here with the ball. And what do? I pull out another tug, and as soon as he disengages, I mark and then reward with the tug. So you can use 2 toys. I'd definitely use that if you've got a dog that's really toy driven like Rocco here. And that was Rocco's walk. He actually saw another dog here, as you can see, and I just kept doing the engage, disengage. So we had 2 dogs coming past at once, and he did really, really well with that. Remember that every dog's critical distance to another dog is going to be different. Rocco's here is about 20 or 30 meters, but you'll find as he gets better, that becomes smaller and smaller until I can eventually just walk past. I hope you found this tutorial really useful. Like and follow for more training content.